Before it gets dark here, I want to talk about Jordan Neely. But I want to talk more about Jordan Neely. I want to talk about how we get to Jordan Neely and the fact that we're having it happen every day. Jordan Neely was a 30-year-old human who was strangled to death on a New York subway in Manhattan. We're also going to talk about Ralph Yarl. That happened a little over a week ago. We're going to talk about Sensei Reed, Rasheem Carter. We're going to talk about Derek Chauvin and Ahmaud Arbery, perhaps Dante Wright. We're going to talk about the fact that we live in a white supremacy system that's built to protect itself, and we're seeing it protect itself and kill on a micro level and a macro level. The system protects itself with help from the media. What have we heard in the headlines about how many times Jordan Neely has been arrested? We didn't even get the name of the guy who strangled him to death until the next day. The media knew who it was. There were newspapers announcing that he had an attorney. They knew all about it. You know, a little over a week ago when Ralph Yarl rang the wrong doorbell and was shot in the head, and then the guy opened up the door and shot him again. No arrests were immediately made. They didn't tell us his name either. But you know, we always have our mind blown. How could this happen? How could this happen? But if we go back to October of last year, 13-year-old Sensei Reed was walking down the road in Columbus, Ohio. 6'3", 220-pound man, white man named Craig Butler got out of his pickup truck and shot Sensei Reed twice, killing him. He initially was taken to jail, but even though Sensei wasn't armed, even though Craig Butler got out of his pickup truck, Craig Butler claimed self-defense and they let him go and no charges have been made. In that same month of October, Rasheem Carter, 25-year-old in Mississippi, went to the police and said 3 white men in a pickup truck were following him and that they were going to hurt him, they were going to kill him. Police disregarded it. Well, he went missing the next day, and they found him a month later on November 2nd. Police said no foul play suspected. Of course, he was decapitated, mutilated. Body parts are still being found today. For my white audience, for those of you who like to pretend that systemic racism doesn't exist and we don't have systemic problems, let's take a look and reverse some of those roles. What if the man that was threatening people on the subway was a white man and a black man put him in the chokehold and was strangling them? Do you think the whole subway car would rally around him? Do you think the media would cover for him? What if a white man went into the Taylorsville, Mississippi Police Department and said that a truckload of black men were trying to kill him? It would have been a city emergency and the sirens would have gone off. What about Sensei Reed? What if a white kid was walking down the road and a black man drove by, got out of his pickup truck, pulled out his rifle and shot him 2 times? You think he wouldn't be in jail? With Jordan Neely, the press has said that he was threatening other passengers, but have you noticed that they never say how he was threatening other passengers? But if you've been watching this channel, you know how. You know what kind of threat he was, how he was threatening passengers. He was threatening passengers by being a black man. That's all they need in this system. We can try to celebrate some of the wins like Dante Wright. Kim Potter got convicted. She served 16 months and is out now. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. Like with Ahmaud Arbery, for 3 months, no one was arrested. The system was protecting itself. That video was floating around. The only reason the McMichaels got arrested, father and son, was because we saw the video. They weren't going to arrest him, seeing the video themselves. They knew it happened. They protect George Floyd. The headlines in the Minneapolis paper the next day said man dies of medical event in police custody. If that young lady wouldn't have gotten footage of him having his knee on his neck, Derek Chauvin would still have a fucking job today. I guarantee it. You know, now They've found 2 other cases. The taxpayers of Minneapolis are paying well over $9 million because of 2 other cases that also had about 8 cops involved with it that all lied on their police report. Police lie. It's not just Derek Chauvin. He had kneeled on both of these young black people's neck. One girl teenager he drugged by her shackled arms while she was shackled to his car. And the police lied on those police reports. You think the higher-ups don't know about that? We live in a system that Kyle Rittenhouse, the darling boy for white America, can go to a Black Lives Matter with a gun illegally, murder more than one person, no consequences. Again, can you see that happening with a black guy going to the Stop the Steal rally? Can you imagine that with a black man with an assault rifle going to the Stop the Steal rally and shooting a couple people and being able to get away with it? No, you can't see it. Because if a black man had an assault rifle, he'd already be dead. Activists, people marching down the streets are doing a great job, and it's how we're getting some sort of semblance of justice, and I guarantee it means a lot to the families, the impacted families from police violence. It means so much, but we've got to do good work dismantling this system. We've got to tear the shit down. It is a white supremacy system. The subway with Jordan Neely was filled with white people that all stood there while that man strangled him to death. Sensei Reed was 13. He weighed 125 pounds. Craig Butler, 6'3", 220, claimed self-defense, and they're letting this stuff slide. What kind of world can you imagine if Rasheem Carter was white and every couple weeks more body parts were found? The family has not heard from the police department. There's a $50,000 reward out there for information leading to the arrest of the people who did that to Rasheem. And it was a lot of people. They're keeping their mouths shut. They're so used to protecting themselves, protecting white violence. It's Jordan Neely today. Tomorrow it'll be somebody.